Hey guys, my name is Bradley. Welcome to my channel, The Portly Gentleman. Today's video is actually kind of special. It's a Pilsner brew day, which to me is pretty exciting. Even more exciting, other than the fact that at the end of the video, the main focus is going to be my kind of cleaning process and how I clean up after a brew day. It's a Pilsner, so it has a decent amount of hops, so it should give everyone kind of a good idea of how I do it. If you guys think I could do anything differently or make suggestions, please comment below. I read all the comments, but I've actually partnered with Mecca Grade Estate Malts for quite a few actually brew days. Mecca Grade Estate Malts is in Oregon, up in the high desert. It's a family-owned company. They also grow some turf grass for your lawn, but it's super cool. So Seth at Mecca Grade really hooked me up, sent me 6 bags of their specialty malt. And guys, this is a high-end premium malt. It's not, you know, like a Viking malt or Brussels or whatever. This is high-end premium estate malt. All the malt that they get, they grow themselves on their own farm. They malt it in their own malt house. It's all from one spot. It is all one family. So when you talk to Seth, if you email him or reach out to him, you're talking to, I don't know what generation he is, but he's a farmer, owner, operator, and it's just super cool to deal with a small company. So today I'm using their Pelton malt, which is a substitute for Pilsner, and the smell of the stuff is just amazing. When I was doughing in, the smell is just beautiful. It smells like sweet and fresh and just like awesome, awesome fresh malt. Most of the malt I got was malted within the last 30 days. So it's right now the very beginning of April. So super impressive with malt that fresh. And now more than ever, guys, it's really important to support local business. And a malt house like this, where they've been doing lots of business with breweries who burn through, you know, tons of malt. You know, home brewers are still brewing. So if you guys can, ask your local homebrew shops if they would want to carry Mecca Grade Estate Malt. And if they can't or don't, maybe call up Mecca Grade directly. Do a group buy with some of your buddies and get this stuff. You won't be sorry. So today's recipe is going to be about 70% Pelton, which, you know, Seth tells me that it will taste great as long as I do a good job, which typically I do. It's going to be slightly different because their malt, you know, they're using their water from their aquifer up there in Oregon. I guess the water is like crazy old when it comes out of the ground. It's super fresh. So kind of the water, as they spray it on the grain where they're malting it, you know, the water, they obviously dry it and evaporate it, but it leaves behind minerals and stuff. So with Mecca Grade, I guess their water is like really a super like blank profile apparently. So it's just the grain. And that's really cool since, you know, everyone focuses on hops and now more on yeast. BrewTubers 2020 yeast experiment. Check out that video. But with people not, you know, thinking so much about grain, and you're just buying grain from the biggest grain suppliers around. Oh, it's great because we're the biggest and the oldest. You know, I don't know much more to say about that. But anyways, I'll quit gushing over this malt, Mecca Grade Estate Malt. Check them out. Tell Seth that you heard about it from me. Again, full disclosure, they did send me about 6 bags at 0 charge just for me to play with. Seth, man, I am so grateful and humbled. I really appreciate the opportunity to use your guys' products. So let's jump right into the video. All right, guys, so you can see I'm actually using a manifold. I am not going to use the mash hat today, at least not right now. So I'm going to gently crack this lower valve to get a little bit of wort starting to kind of flow through the manifold. There's the manifold working. So our first step is at a 142. All right, guys, so I went ahead and whizzed through the entire mash and sparge process. Seen it a million times. Everything went really smooth. Just a regular, easy Brewtools mash for me. No fluctuations in level, no. All right, so that timer is the 45-minute edition. So here's 1.68 ounces of Savs going in. Done. All right, it's about time for the 25-minute edition. there's the beeper timer. So here we go. All right, so that's the 25-minute edition in. I've decided not to do a 0-minute edition. Figure I don't want to push my luck. I don't want to get too crazy this time. Just take it simple, take it slow, and really let the malt shine is what I need to do, and not go buck wild with the hops. All right, guys, I couldn't resist showing you that transfer. Crystal clear as always. That Mecca Grade Pelton malt. It just, the Wort has this just clean, just malt flavor. I can't explain it other than it's just cleaner. We'll look real quick at the what's going on here. Got a nice big old cone of shrub and hops. So next time we check in, the unit tank will be full. And we'll get into cleaning up the Brewtools B80pro and probably rambling on more about Mecca Grade Estate Malt. Can't help it. All right, guys, it's the end of the brew day. That means it's time for a beer. And just look at that. It is really clear. It's not quite what I would call super bright, but I think this is going to get there. That's my the American Noble Croche I brewed in that one tutorial with that one boil over. It's a good beer. Good Lord. I should be proud. All right, so this guy's pretty dirty. I made it a little extra dirty just to prove a point. Or just make my life harder. I'm gonna get hammered. All right. So, there's my bucket. Whatever you guys use may be different, but that's what I use. All right, so here we are at the dirty B80. So the first thing I'll do is pull the center pipe, and I will put that in that bucket. And then I'll flip the lower valve all the way to the left. You saw that just opened it up. You see we're already draining through the bottom here. And I'll pull the trub trapper. This thing's nasty too, good Lord. Set that off to the side. So oftentimes what'll happen here is you might get a plug. This Pilsner has some hops in it, so it probably has a little bit of a plug, but you can kind of help that along. So some sort of a garden hose, super handy to have in the brewery. Even handier if I had a sink. So I'll take this guy, put it straight down in that hole, and give it a little blast. And just like that, we start to flow. I'll just kind of spray the elements and everything down, trying not to splash my camera. It's always advisable if you have a beer, it's time for another sip. And now let's just kind of watch and see if anything plugs up. Obviously, I'm trying to mitigate the amount of water I'm using just to be responsible. Let's go ahead and break up this hot mass here. What I meant was I made it difficult. The elements are a little bit dirtier than I normally would. I boiled with a little bit more power than I typically would on purpose. It probably affected the beer a tiny bit, but I don't think that much. Nothing's burned. I typically don't have any of this this kind of stuff here, but you know, it comes off with just your fingernail. Super easy. So I'll keep on working my way through. until all the hops are out. Little plug, so you just blast it with the hose. All right, so now I'll put this hose in this dip tube, but I have to put the valve back to position as if you're recirculating around the malt pipe. So see how that's plugged up, and then basically flushing the pump with fresh water, getting any bits of crap that are in there out of it. Gonna also blast inside of the kind of the port here. All right, so we'll just flip up the dip tube for the whirlpool. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I've opened the valves and set the valves to all go through the chiller and rinse that, at least just with clean water. I'm not gonna show it because my setup's likely different than yours, but once you have a system and you've used it, it's super simple. So that's clean. Then I'll flip for my bypass. And before I do the bypass, another sip. So that's the bypass cleaned out. So I've used water pressure to clean the, at least initially rinse the chiller, the pump, and everything. Now, the bottom three valve is back in the drain position. So now comes the scrubbing part. I typically do it when it's still cold. I use a toilet brush. It's not ever been used for a toilet. And you see that stuff just comes off with this guy. Really easy. So if we look at that, just like that, in a couple seconds, it got the bulk of the stuff off of these elements. I'll do the other side off camera. So that is about it. One last tip, I use this little brush. It's like, I don't know, a faucet brush. Put a little bend in it, because my sausage fingers don't quite get behind the elements at some of these times. So I'll just take this guy and, I mean, literally I'll go both sides real quick, only if it's this dirty. And just get that little bit of stuff behind there that I couldn't get And then just rinse it down. And then go for the next step. So you can see I put the center pipe back in, and I put the that mash hat on there. Right now, this is the best CIP option kind of wiper. Rinse everything down with PBW. Now, honestly, if I was going to brew in the next couple of days another batch, I wouldn't go this far. I would just rinse it with water and called it good. I am going to brew in the next day or two, but purpose of the video, we'll do that. So then I use 5-star PBW. I really like 5-star products, have a pretty good relationship. So for me, that works, but there's many other options. You use whatever you want. There's cheaper options, probably more expensive options. This works for me. And I'm not too precise with my measurements. That's just how I do it though. That's about enough. I have the temp set to 155. And I think that'll get me where I want to be. So then, obviously, so it's going through the chiller, so I'll clean that. And guys, you just manipulate the valves to get the brewery cleaner, the brewery wash, wherever you want within your own system. Super straightforward. So then we'll just turn on the this guy. So I'll let it go like this for a while, and then I'll come back a few minutes and I'll just, turn this a rotation. When I do that, I usually use this, the stock lid with it. It's a nice place to put your beer before it gets hot while you're drinking. So I'll let this heat up, let it run for a few minutes. We'll go to the next step. So here we are. Everything's been fully rinsed down for a few minutes now. It's good and hot. Giving this guy a few spins with PBW. Probably wear gloves when you do this. That seems more intelligent. The chiller's been gone through. Everything's been gone through. Elements are off, obviously, because they're uncovered. I pumped some water out to clean an Erlenmeyer flask I had my starter in. So now I will just use the pump and open my dump valve here, and I'll pump everything out. I'll also cool this down so I can touch it. So there's the pump sucking air, so we'll kill the pump. And we'll flip the lower valve on the unit to the drain position. Pull out the center pipe. Every last little drop get out before I give it a rinse. The PBW is all drained. I will then just rinse everything out. I'll go through all the ports here, rinse the chiller over here and rinse the pump, manipulate all the valves, and rinse all the PBW out of everything. If you ask me, this is pretty clean. Then my last step, I take just a cheapo microfiber from Costco and just towel the inside of this thing out. Get it decently dry, and it's ready to sit until I need to use it again. Finish my second beer eventually. All right, so a huge shout out to Seth at Mecca Grade, his whole family, man. Thank you so much for sending me the malt so I can make some videos with it and really share it with as many people as I can. So once again, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And as always, remember, home brewing is good. I'll see you real soon.